Aloha everyone and welcome to another Tinkers Academy video. I'm your host Kay Elmer, and in this video I'd like to just cover 5 common questions that I get and see in the Telegram chat groups for Leela Quantum Tech. I figured I'd just make a video so I can just link the video next time I get asked the question. So we're going to be talking today about 5 of those common questions. One of them is about quantum healing, 2, overcharging and the copy effect, magnets and how they affect the quantum energy, placing photos in blocks, and upgrading your block. So let's jump right in. Now, the first thing about quantum healing that I think everyone needs to kind of get an understanding about is that it's just one part of our overall physiology. If you wanted to kind of take a look at, like what is the human body comprised of? And we're 3 really separate things that all combine into one being. And that being, we have a biochemical component, right? Molecules, vitamins, supplements, drugs, all that stuff. We're just this chemical hodgepodge of essentially, we're an 11.5-gallon saltwater aquarium with about 8 pounds of minerals. So, we are biochemical and we are physical. So we can't ignore the fact that there is that component of our being and our health. There's also a bioelectro aspect of it as well. I mean, we are literally electrical beings. We are powered by electricity, and all of our cells actually carry a very slight voltage, and that's how we process all of the different chemical reactions within us is all done through electricity. And then the last thing about us as human beings is that we're energy beings, also known as light beings. And so when we talk about quantum healing, and a question that I see all the time in Telegram is, people come in and nothing wrong with this at all, but, it's like, oh, I've got... or I know someone who's got multiple sclerosis, or I've got someone who has liver problems, or I've got a bad knee. And so the whole first thing that, I want to just stipulate is that the Leela Quantum Tech products and no product, I mean, I've been in the energy world forever and ever. I mean, I've just really kind of got into it decades ago. I've been working with energy devices for all that time, especially also as bioelectrical magnetic devices and things like that. I'm really big into health and healing. And so the thing I want to point out is number one, and even in the disclaimers at Leela Quantum Tech, is that these devices are not medical devices. It's not like a panacea or a silver bullet that's going to solve a physical problem that you're having. It's just not. That's not what quantum healing is all about. What quantum healing does is it addresses one aspect of your being, of your health and your wellness, and that is your energy. And so what quantum healing devices do, as well as the quantum healing service, the quantum upgrade, is the energy is, in other words, Leela Quantum Tech has found a way to amplify that energy, and they can basically concentrate it using their tools, and then they can amplify it and they can transmit that energy. And that's whatever energy you want to call it. There's really no kind of really good language for this yet, but the idea, though, it's like life force energy, it's chi, prana, organ, there's so many different words for this energy that we know is all around us. We can feel ourselves transferring energy between each other, as we interact with each other and even with our pets. People can feel it. We know that there's this energy all around us, and you can tap into that energy. And then for most people can tap into that energy, but if you really want to kick it up a notch, you can get these tools that can then actually concentrate, and it actually even filters energy. So you can filter out negative energy that's going on in your space with these tools as well. But the idea, though, is that they found a way to concentrate that energy. And when they concentrate that energy and you're sent that energy, or you're wearing a capsule, or you're putting your hand in a block, or even in the field of a block, that sort of thing, then what is happening is you're being sent extra energy beyond what you yourself, contain. Okay, now there's other ways to do that, and there's an actual really incredible practice. It's the original form of martial arts. It's so old that there's no date on when it started, but it predates everything, and it's called Qigong, right, or Qigong. And so depending on, whether it's the Chinese or the Japanese version of it, but the idea, though, is that the Qigong masters figured out ages ago that you could pull that energy out of the ether and then concentrate that qi through this practice called Qigong. And then you could actually then, you could actually move it. It's all about concentrating and moving energy within yourself. I studied under, Taoist monks years ago and learned Qigong that way. And that's why when Leela came along and Philip came along, I really understood what he was doing because it was very similar to that practice in terms of concentrating that life force energy within you. Now, obviously, not everyone has that training. And so for those of you who don't, that's what these capsules and cards and blocks do. The service does is it gives you more chi. It gives you more energy. And that energy then helps you, your body, enlighten yourself. You enlighten yourself physically into a healing state, and it participates in the actual activity of healing. And that's why the studies that we're seeing out there right now, there's this wound healing study going on where they're actually scientifically measuring that wound healing it happens faster with this extra energy being sent to the person, right? We've seen people actually have major injuries where they're using these quantum healing devices and they heal faster. It's not overnight, again, but it helps their body. It supports your body heal yourself. That's key. It's supporting your body to heal yourself, to heal yourself through your own energy. Then it just gives you more energy to do that. But here's the thing, nothing's a cure unless you address all of three things. And so I think the thing that really comes along, I think the biggest point I want to make to everybody is that, when you're dealing with a problem and you're looking at tools and things that could help you, address those problems, and it could be anything. Lyme disease, comes up a lot as a topic. But the idea, though, is if you're not addressing the bioelectrical aspect of your body, you're not addressing the biochemical aspect of your body, and you're only doing energy, well, it's going to help. It's going to help your body, but your body's still going to struggle because it's only one part of the solution that's going to help you. So I just want to point that out, that quantum healing is about helping you increase the amount of life force energy within you that then helps your body heal itself. It's not a silver bullet, though. It comes with the other two if you want to see full recovery or full improvement. So, it does help. It's never going to be a negative thing because it's all positive life force energy, right? But the idea, though, is only one of a multifaceted solution. So there is no medical device that's called a quantum healing. There's no magic med bed kind of thing where, you're just going to boom, you're cured. It's going to be a solution that's comprised of three separate components, of which energy is really important. Now, if you just did the biochemical, right? Everybody knows we all experience, quote, modern medical care. And what do? You go in there and they give you some drugs, and if you don't work, come back next week kind of thing, and you're always on some new drug, and then you take a drug for what the other drug did, and blah, blah, blah. And that's why you don't really see a lot of great progress or, there's so many people get frustrated with their doctors because they don't ever get better. They just keep taking different drugs or different doses of drugs and so forth because, again, they're only addressing one aspect of their overall being. And so it's a combination of the three. And that's, I think, what's really important about quantum healing. And when you come in and say, I have a problem, it's going to definitely help you. It's going to help your body help itself. But unless you're looking at the other two things as well and approaching it as a whole 360 view of your being, you're not going to really see the incredible results that you're going to want to see. So keep that in mind, that quantum healing is super helpful, but it's not the only thing that's going to help you in almost all situations unless you address everything else as well. Now, the other aspect of quantum healing that I want to point out is the idea of the frequencies, right? So it's more than so the energy, as I just described, it basically increases your own life force energy. Now, what is the other part of it, though, is frequency medicine. So now you can go ahead and go on YouTube and go, anywhere you want to go. You could search on these terms, but the frequency medicine is the idea of just the fact that, energy, right, it's basically everything is just energy is just, if you try to visualize what energy is, right, it's light. and it's moving, and anything that's moving is vibrating, and anything that's vibrating has a frequency. So everything is vibration, and everything is frequency, and everything's energy at the end of the day. And so now the whole concept of, now if you want to start introducing frequencies, like a lot of people say, oh, so and so, like my, I saw one the other day, like, oh, I think my cat hurt its paw, what would you best, what would you recommend for the frequency? And obviously it's going to be heal, right? Because a heal frequency is to help, specifically a frequency on top of the energy to help you heal, right? That it's basically, I think Philip once described it as, it wasn't, I'm sorry, I think I'm getting confused. We have the new frequency called primal source, but this is the heal frequency, has the healing, the primal healing frequency, the healing of creation, of your cells being able to do what your cells need to do, and that energy that causes that to happen. Okay, so it's built into that frequency set. So the idea here now of frequency, and I want to kind of point you out to something called German New Medicine. You can look that up. It's a practice where people have finally figured out that, hey, you know what? All of our traumas, all of our problems that are physical and or emotional or mental are all tied to these frequencies that are trapped within ourselves. And so I kind of have this illustration here of the human biofield. And, some people call this the aura. I call it the biofield. You can look that up as well. There's a ton of books about the human biofield. But bottom line, though, it's this bubble of energy that is us, right? We generate this energy field around us, and it could be as, for really, really strong, vibrant people, it's a big ball. For, people that are weak, low chi, it's a smaller ball. But either way, you've got this ball of energy around you. And what happens is, one of the things that's theorized with German New Medicine and frequency medicine, and in those, basically those theories, is the idea that all of our physical maladies are a reflection of a frequency that we've entrapped into our biofield, and it's manifesting as a physical ailment. Okay, so here's the thought, right? Something really bad happens to you, and all of a sudden you have migraines, and you don't, and so you're trying to solve the migraines with your doctor, giving you tons and tons of drugs, nothing's working. But the idea, though, is that what happens is that trauma or injuries are a reflection of frequency that's been trapped in your biofield. In fact, there's a really great video, and I'll put a link in the video description below, of the person who started this concept of biofield tuning. Her name's Elaine, and or Eileen, and she's got her whole thing called biofieldtuning.com or something like that, no affiliation. But she put out a video once I thought was just this fantastic. She wanted to just explain her theories and what she had discovered in the 20 years that she's been working with tuning forks. Another way of doing frequency where, in her world, and I think it's very poignant, and I think it's very applicable to the concept of quantum healing, because it's frequency medicine combined, right? But the idea, though, in the physical world, if you have two tuning forks and you have one just sitting there, and you bring the other one and you basically hit it, and it starts to vibrate, those vibrations carry through space, and all of a sudden, and when you get close enough to the second fork starts to vibrate. It's a sympathetic, resonating at a sympathetic vibration. So then all of a sudden the other fork will start to vibrate that matches the first fork, right? So you've got fork A and fork B, and the two things start to vibrate at a resonance, and it's called entrainment. So the first one entrains the second one to start vibrating at the same rate. Well, that's really how it all works. That's how we all operate. So we ourselves are operating at a vibratorial state, right? And you bring in an extra frequency in there, and it starts to entrain with your own. What the concept of frequency medicine is that if you start doing biofield tuning, or you start using these frequencies with Leela or any other service that provides these types of solutions, then what happens is you see all these little blotches here. Those are all trapped frequencies that are basically tied to a physical ailment, like your back hurts all the time, or you have digestive issues. Well, some of those issues, or if not all of the issues, if you read and study all of this stuff, is tied back to some frequency that's trapped in your biofield. Then you're using another frequency to entrain these little, problem areas. And after a while, you can kind of just entrain these frequencies with a different frequency. And then all of a sudden, this thing vibrates and leaves your biofield. And when that frequency leaves your biofield, then all of a sudden the problem that it caused in your physical body goes away. Okay, so it's kind of complicated, but the idea though is that with frequencies you can entrain to a positive frequency that negates a negative frequency, and you can remove it from your biofield, and then the physical problem that's associated with it goes away, and that's kind of called quantum healing. And right now it's kind of, the language isn't really solid in terms of like explaining exactly what everything's going on, but these are the two concepts here. You've got frequency medicine in acting with quantum healing, so that you're pumping energy in to help the body, and they're using a frequency to entrain and negate negative frequency. And the more of these things you can get out of you, that you can kind of just make them disappear because you've entrained them with a positive frequency, and you basically null them out. Then as these things kind of go away from you, you start finding that those physical problems go away from you as well. So that's the idea behind quantum healing. It's one of three things. Always, it's not a silver bullet, but if you approach your whole physical health and wellness from the concept of, hey, you know what, we are more than just one thing. And if you approach it in a three-dimensional way, right, a 360, and then you start using frequencies to kind of null out the negative frequencies that are trapped in your biofield, you're going to start to find healing. And that's the key thing about how this works, is that it takes a lot of time, a lot of energy, right, and to help your body do what your body, is meant to do, which is to heal you. Okay? So now the second thing that I get asked a lot about, or I see come up a lot about, is the concept of overcharging and the copy effect. So right off the bat, you only can overcharge something with a block. Okay. Now there's 4 separate blocks you can purchase or you can own. And so there's a quantum block, a travel block, an infinity block, and a grand block. Okay. And these are all quantum devices that can charge other things to the effect that you can actually overcharge. Well, one thing about it that you need to know is that quantum blocks are designed where they just never overcharge. No matter how long you leave something in there, it'll never overcharge it. So you never have to worry about overcharging when it comes to a quantum block. But the other 3 blocks will. And so what overcharging means is that there's a set of guidelines on how long you should leave stuff in there if you want to basically concentrate energy into that device, object, whatever, whether it's a crystal or a phone or a watch, your keys, yourself. You can put yourself in the block and you can charge up, right? And if you stick to the guidelines, you'll be fine. You'll have the optimal charge for that thing, right? That's based on the guidelines given to us by Philip and Roman, who invented all of this stuff. However, if you leave stuff in these other 3 blocks, then they become overcharged, meaning that they have more energy than what was they're designed to have, that they were kind of, Roman and Philip and the Healer Network, they kind of came up with all these guidelines because they basically, kind of work with this stuff for years to figure out what's the best way you can use these things for optimum, experience. And that's what they came up with. They're just guidelines. So the first thing I want you to know is, A, you can't overcharge in a quantum. You can with the other 3. B, if you overcharge something. In fact, I read a post today on Telegram. Someone left a stainless steel bottle in one of their blocks for, I think, a whole day. And they're worried, like, what's going to happen now? Nothing's going to happen now. Now you've got a supercharged water bottle. Awesome. So nothing negative will ever happen. That's the thing. There's no downside to any of this, right? I mean, how much, giving yourself body, energy to heal, to help yourself heal, charging something, giving yourself more energy, giving an item more energy. No, there's no bad thing that's going to happen. There's no downside. However, there's an issue that comes up when you overcharge something, and it's called the copy effect. And that's the only thing that can happen, but it's not necessarily a negative thing. So what the copy effect is, and this is what's really important to understand about overcharging. Okay, so overcharging, not a bad thing. Don't worry about it. If it happens, it happens. I've overcharged tons and tons of stuff. I've overcharged myself, hey, nothing negative happens. However, now, there is that one issue, and the one issue is the copy effect. And so now this is for illustrative purposes only, right? But there's 2 things that are going to cause the copy effect, okay? And one of them is when you overcharge something by the length of the charge. So even if you have, let's say you only have 1 block, And that's not the quantum. Remember now, we're not talking about the quantum block. Quantum blocks, off the chart, off the table in this discussion. But the other three blocks, if you leave something in any one of those other three blocks longer than the guidelines tell you to, so let's say brand new, this is what it looks like. You get a card, and it's got a field, and it's a certain amount of strength, and and it's working just as designed by the Leela Healer Network. Okay. Now, if all of a sudden you put it in there and you forgot, or you put it in there for 30 minutes straight and you forgot, or something happened, or you put it in there 10 minutes 3 times, right? Either way, it's accumulative. So now you've added 30 more minutes of energy to it from a much stronger block. So then now, because of the accumulated time of charging, that card is now overcharged. And now all of a sudden it's got more energy than it was, than it was intended to have. And so now the field is bigger and stronger. Okay. And that's what overcharge means. It's just got more energy and its field is a little bit bigger. But if you put that bigger field, that stronger object next to a weaker object, then whatever frequency's on that object is going to copy over to the other one. So in other words, if this thing's been in 30 minutes and this one's just brand new, and you put those two cards next to each other, right, so that they're overlapping their fields, then what's going to happen is the stronger object is going to copy its frequency onto the lesser strong, the lesser energy, I guess not as strong object. Okay, so then all of a sudden now you're going to have two frequencies on this one and only one frequency on this new one, right? And so then you're basically, you're not blending necessarily, you're adding on. The new frequency that copied onto it is not going to overwrite the old one. All of a sudden now you've got a card with 2 frequencies and another card over here with 1 frequency. And so now, is that a big deal? Not really, right? However, if you're someone like myself who's really into tinkering around and you want to keep everything organized and clean, like if I want all of my cards to only have that 1 frequency, right? For me, because when I want to kind of switch stuff around or try different frequencies, or I only want to work on, let's say, weight loss, then I only want to use my weight card. Or if I want to work on sleeping, I use my sleep card, right? And I don't want the sleep card to have all sorts of different other frequencies on it, because I just want to work with that 1 frequency. And so I keep everything super organized and super, just labeled. I've got a whole video on how I do that, with the idea being that I only use the quantum block when I'm copying frequencies and things like that. And I'm really careful. And how I get around, and this is the thing, how I get around putting stuff in these guys is I'll just make a copy I'll copy the frequency onto a piece of foil, and then I use that little piece of foil. I never ever risk overcharging my cards because of that. When I first get them, I immediately make a foil of them, and then I put them away for my storage. And I keep them safe. They're like all in original condition. And then I use those foils. And when I use the foils, I'll use them in my super capsule, or I'll put them in my block. And then if they become overcharged, no big deal. I'll throw them away. And then, I'll go make a new one when I want to play with it again. But the idea, though, is that you don't want to have more time on an object. And if you do have more time of charging on an object, it becomes overcharged, and that you risk the copy effect. So main thing, though, if you overcharge something that has a frequency, just keep it separate, at least 30 inches away from your other objects, so that you don't have that copy effect going on. Okay. Now, the other thing that can actually cause a copy effect is if you put something in a stronger block, because it's the same concept. If I take something and I put it in the grand block, even for 3 minutes in the grand block, it's going to be way more charged up than the original item that came, like if I bought it from Leela. So this is the same as if I would have put the object in a stronger block, then it has, all of a sudden, it's got way more energy than it came out of the factory, let's say, with, and it's going to do that copy effect. Okay, so just be aware that overcharge is not a bad thing, okay? If it has a frequency on it, still not a bad thing. You just want to avoid, mixing up your frequencies if that's important to you. And that's the whole thing. So, don't worry too much about leaving stuff in the block too long. Just remember that, this is the concept that you're working with, and it's really easy not to have it, mess up your stuff. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is magnets. Now, magnets come up all the time, and there's, the thing about magnets is just be aware, okay, so be aware that the concepts of magnets having issues with quantum energy all comes down to how the blocks work. Okay, so it doesn't affect any other device. Well, I guess it would affect, I'm sorry, it would affect other devices. However, the point being, okay, is that it's only, going to affect when you have really, really, really strong rare earth magnets. We're talking about neodymium magnets that are super powerful magnets, okay? The little weak magnets like what's in your phone or an earbud, or a speaker, those are not that big of a deal because they don't produce much of a magnetic field in terms of strength, okay? But when you have a neodymium magnet, okay, and it's anywhere near, let's say, a block, okay, then it's going to create problems. And let me explain how that basically is theorized, okay? So this right here is an illustration of the energy field of a block or any one of these devices. And you notice how it kind of matches the whole concept of the biofield? Well, that's the thing. The universe creates energy fields in the form of what they call a toroid. And this is found throughout the universe. It's found in everything. Okay, it's just one of those things of nature like the Fibonacci sequence and the golden mean. Okay, you'll find this energy field in almost everything. You ask people to describe to you what an aura looks like. It looks like this. Okay, where the person's standing in the middle. So the whole idea, though, is energy is basically kind of flowing, constantly flowing. Energy never stops, right? And so it's always flowing, and it's coming through this, this big field, and it's coming, and it's kind of just, all basically concentrated in the middle. Well, guess what the field of a block looks like? That's what the field of a block looks like. The middle right here, where the energy is most concentrated, you can actually see it in this visual. It gets brightest right here. It's where it's most concentrated, and that's what is the block field. The block field is this giant toroid of energy that's flowing in and out of the block and concentrated in the middle, and that's why when you put stuff in between the plates, you're in the middle of this field, and that's where it's concentrated, and that's why it's charging stuff. Okay, so now, with that in mind, keep in mind, so now this diagram here, let me push this to the side. This diagram here is a magnetic field. So this is a quantum field, okay? So this is quantum field, magnetic field. Let me kind of just scoot this around. So I kind of messed up my thing here a little bit. So now here you go. You've got this quantum field, you've got this magnetic field. That's what happens. Okay, so now this is the description here. This is what I'm trying to convey, okay? Now, if this is the energy field, quantum energy field, life force energy, whatever you want to call it, this is what a magnetic field looks like. And you can see, like I said, it's a toroidal field. You look at diagrams of the magnetic field of the Earth, right? The magnetosphere, guess what? It looks just like this, except it's, mostly it's stretched out because of the solar winds. But either way, you've got a North Pole and a South Pole on a really super strong magnet, and it's got that same energy flow, okay? So the problem with magnets and blocks is if you were to take the magnet and put it exactly inside the block, it wouldn't be that problematic because it wouldn't disrupt the flow of the energy, the direction of the energy, okay? And so I don't recommend anybody do that, but why it's not recommended to put really super strong magnets in the block is because if you put that magnet inside your block and it's at any other angle than perfect up and down, north and south, guess what? You've got fields of energy going this way, and then you've got your natural flow of energy, right? If I were just to put this in the back, send that to back. Now, all of a sudden, look, you've got this happening in this direction, and then you've got this happening in that direction, right? This way versus this way. And then that's what happens. That is why, okay, it starts to mess with the energy field of the block. That's the whole point I'm trying to make. Super strong magnets have super strong energy fields, right? That because of their motion, if they go inside of a block, it's going to mess up the motion of the energy field of the block. Now, is that a bad thing? No, but it is a thing. And the is a thing part means that the Leela guys just haven't studied it. They know that if you do that, you put that super strong magnet in there, it's going to twist up the field of energy for the block, and they haven't done any testing or trying to figure out like, okay, then what happens if you try to charge something, right, in the block, and it's all of a sudden the energy field, the energy motion is all gone wonky because you've got it pulling and stretching out of shape where it's this normal shape, but now all of a sudden you've got other energies that are pulling and stretching it in different directions, and it becomes basically, it kind of just mutates the energy field of the block. And because it does that, there's not enough research or anybody to tell you, okay, well, what happens to like what is the effectiveness of the block, or what's going on in the block? Does the field get bigger, smaller? The energy is all wonky. It's going in different directions. It's being stretched and pulled in different, angles than it's normally functioning as a natural object. And what's the effect of that? Nobody knows. And that's why it's not recommended. We just don't know enough. We know that it's going to mess it up, right? It's going to mess with it, but we don't know what the effect is. And I mean, nothing's going to be negative. No one's ever reported anything negative, but we do know that when you mess with super strong magnets and you mess that with, you start messing around with magnets and you start messing around with energy devices, and it can be any kind of energy device, even your crystals, okay? Keep in mind, your crystals put out energy. You put out energy. You would never want to have one of these strong magnets around you because it's going to mess up your biofield. Okay, so this is the natural field of everything. So really, really, really caution on super strong magnets because they will warp your field or whatever you're working with, and there's not enough understanding as to like what the effect of that is. And is everything going to work the way it's supposed to when that happens? Probably not. That's why it's recommended do not put super strong magnets in or near your blocks and or yourself or any of your other Leela devices, okay? Because they mess up the field. There, enough of that. Okay, the next one here is placing photos in blocks. Okay, now there's a lot of questions about, and this is a quantum healing thing, right? But placing photos in blocks, what's that all about? Well, it's quantum entanglement. And anytime you do that, and this is real actual quantum physics, guys. They've actually proven, science has proven it. There was a Nobel Prize last year for a couple of scientists that actually proved the concept of quantum entanglement between two, electrons or something. And so the whole idea here is that, you can pass energy from one part of a person to another part of that same person. And a picture of you is that. A sample of your DNA, like a piece, a lock of hair or a drip of blood, or cells, right? From you, it's going to tie to you. So there, you are in two places at once, in other words, right? And so even a picture can do it. Even writing your name on a piece of paper can do it. So you can basically identify the other part, right? Particle A and particle B. This would be particle A and particle B in physics, right? Or in quantum entanglement, the photo ties to you. It is you in the quantum universe. Okay, so if you take that photo of you, pet, whatever, house, tree, and you put it inside the block, then the energy of this block is going to go into that photo, find you in the universe through quantum entanglement, and then it's actually going to get to you. All right. And that's how it works. And so here's just an example of me helping somebody, I forgot who it was. I get asked a lot to help out, so I do. So I just, print out a photo, and then this person actually had the heal frequency with them. But this is kind of what you do. You just basically put the photo in the block, okay? And then this is what happens. That energy goes through the quantum universe and finds that person and then sends them that energy, right? Or sends with the frequency that you're sending them, like the heal frequency, or someone's going through some really tough time. You send them the inner peace frequency, whatever you want. You can just send frequency, send energy to anybody, anywhere, anytime, and also pets and trees. I've actually got the banyan tree from Lahaina, Maui, in my grand block. It's been in there since the fire, and I'm just sending energy to that tree to help it heal. And it's been a couple of months now. And so it's still there, so I've got a photo of the banyan tree in my grand block right now. So, but that's how it works. Now, the thing about placing photos in blocks, okay, if you want to use this feature of your quantum devices, and blocks are the only thing that do it now, is you only want to do one person at a time. And that's one of the big recommends, okay? And the reason you don't want to do two is because if you put two in here, right, you commingle the two people together. And now they may not want to be commingled together, their energy fields, right? You start mixing up their bioenergy fields, and guess what? You start mixing up all of the stuff that's stuck in their bioenergy field, right? And do you really want to be doing that to somebody? So the whole idea here is only one person at a time, because you don't want to mix them together. And that's what's going to happen, is they're going to be mixed together if you put them in there together from a quantum energy state, okay? So one person at a time. The photo has to be recognizable. In other words, if you look at the photo and they go, yeah, that's that person. Yeah, if it's so far away, or it's only like from behind, or it's just like a body part, it may not be recognizable, but it needs to be recognizable. And keep in mind too that your intentions I made a video the other day called The Science of Intention, and I talked about a actual quantum physics things called the observer effect. Yeah, whenever you are doing anything, it doesn't even matter if you're doing stuff with quantum, what you're thinking, how you're feeling, what's going on in your mind, right, is projecting through your actions. And so your intentions while you're doing this are super important, okay? From the concept of recognizable, what I mean by that is if you put in a picture of, let's say, your mom hurt her knee, and you just put that photo in there, but you're not focused, you have to set the intention that is your mom's knee, or the quantum space is not going to find it. They're just not going to know whose knee that is. So you have to use your intentions while you're doing this, and make sure that the intention is like, oh, this is mom's knee. Please, send positive energy and healing frequency to my mother. Here you go. Put the photo in. You've now set that observer effect. You put that intention into the universe, into the block, and boom, going to go find your mom's knee. Okay, so you definitely have to be recognizable, and if not, make sure you're using intentions. And then there's also people going, hey, can I put a digital photo in? Can I just have a photo on my cell phone and put my cell phone in the block, right, and use that photo on my phone? Yeah, that works because it's still recognizable, right? It's on the phone. So, but here's the thing, though. Everything about your phone is also going to be sent along, so you've got, the frequency of the phone and everything you've put into that phone. If you understand objects carry, this thing right here, all these little memories that kind of float and get stuck in you. Yeah, anything you touch, there's parts of you left in it, okay? And all that stuff's going to be on that phone. And so that's going to be, it's going to get transferred over as well. So I don't recommend using cell phone photos. I always just print them out. So yeah, be aware of that. And then the idea here of duration, how long should I leave a photo in? Well, it's completely intuitive. There's no guideline for that. Bottom line is you basically are sending healing energy and frequencies to someone to help them for something, right? And so, I would send it in until it helps them. Sometimes, like I said, I just left a tree in for, 2 months now. I put myself in the block for weeks at a time. I've done that with when my daughter gets sick, I'll put her photo in the block and stuff like that. So it's just a matter of intuition, and I'd put it in there and then check with them and see how it's going and leave it in there as long as you feel. What your intuitive sense is telling you is long enough or not long enough. Okay, so it's all about intuition. So just follow what you feel is the right thing to do in terms of how long to leave a photo in the block. Now, I did talk about the frequencies. Again, frequencies will carry with it. So you can definitely use frequencies when you're putting in photos. And also permission. Now, that's the last piece about putting photos in the block is, do I need permission? Well, yeah, you do. Because if the other person isn't participating in their own healing, then right off the bat, you're sending energy to someone who, by their own ability, right, to create and manifest in reality, if they don't believe this stuff works right off the bat, nothing's going to happen because they are putting up this shield, this wall of not believing, and because they don't believe, nothing's going to work. It's going to stop it. But if they're not participating, like, oh, someone's feeling really low, they're going through divorce or whatever, I'm going to send them some quantum healing energy. Well, you might want to ask them, is that something that they want? And if they're participating, like, yeah, they're accepting it. And so when you accept it, and guys, this is just how it works, right? If they're accepting and they're participating in the process, then better results are going to happen. Now, what do you say about, oh, grandpa's in a coma, right? Or so-and-so is unconscious, or they can't speak for themselves, pets, right? Well, yeah, you can still send them energy. Okay, just remember, though, that, using your intentions. If they can't speak for themselves, then use your intentions, but always ask through your intentions. In other words, how I do it is, let's say, how I do it is I kind of throw in the whole divine plan thing, where it's like, hey, I'm sending energy to this person or this pet, please, just my thinking, my feelings, how I set intentions is, help this individual heal, and recover faster or feel better. And I will put that out there, and then I always say, according to their own wishes and their own divine plan. And their divine plan is whatever, the divinity or their own karma has set out for them, so that way my intentions align with all of that. right? And especially, if they, and if they, if they accept it. I think that's what I'm trying to say, is if they can't speak for themselves and none of your pets can, then just send them that positive energy and just set the intention that, that they're willing to accept it. And if they accept it, let this help them, and let it align with their divine plan. Because sometimes it just might be their time to pass, right? And you're not going to affect that. Other times, they might be trying to fight to live, right? You can, the difference, right? If they're fighting to struggle and they're fighting to live, then he'll help this, have this energy. The intention is have this energy help them, support them, and help them heal, help them survive, and that sort of thing. So I hope I'm trying to be clear on that. But that's the whole idea about permissions, okay? Now, the last piece here I want to cover is upgrading your blocks. Now, now that there's more than one block, we all started out, right? I've been here from the beginning. We started with one block. Now there's 4 blocks, and so there's some confusion here about, hey, I want to upgrade my block. Upgrade meaning I want to increase the strength of it. And so here is the idea here that I wanted to kind of clarify. If you've got more than one block and you want to make the weaker one stronger, no problem there. I mean, you don't have to, right? But if you want to, then, by all means. So here I talked to Philip yesterday, and I put together this chart with him just to make sure that everybody's really clear on how to upgrade your block. Okay, so let's start off with these are the blocks right here. And then these are what you would upgrade it with. Okay, so you upgrade with this side. So now, quantum block. No, don't touch it. Don't mess with it. That's the guideline for messing with a quantum block is you don't mess with it. Don't try to upgrade it. Don't try to, don't do anything to it. It's literally the most special block. I realize everyone's, they're always gravitating towards the biggest, best, blah, blah, blah. No. The actual quantum block, because it can't overcharge, it's the most special block. So don't mess with it. Just please don't touch with that. Just don't change it, okay? Because you don't realize until you get into doing frequency things how critically important and how valuable it is to have something that doesn't overcharge. And so the quantum is a very special block. Now, if you have a travel block, then the idea here is, first of all, you don't mess with the quantum block. You don't ever put these big, strong blocks in a quantum block or near one. Just keep them away from each other, 30 inches minimum. Okay, but if you have a travel block, can you upgrade a travel block with another one? No, you can't do that with any of them. So the travel blocks cannot upgrade any of the other blocks, okay, according to Philip, because they're just not designed to. It's not designed to upgrade each other. It's stronger than you can't upgrade an infinity block with a travel block. It's just not recommended, okay, because they're kind of close in energy size, but energy strength, but you can grow an infinity block stronger and stronger and stronger. So there's really no idea of like what infinity block are you trying to charge with a travel block. So just don't do it. But if you wanted to upgrade your travel block and you have a grand block, someone who does, then this is and I do apologize. I think I posted a couple of weeks ago. Somebody asked me this, and I said, just do it for 20 minutes. It's kind of a gray area. I'm not really sure. So now I am sure. I talked to Philip, and he said, yeah, take the rods off, put all 2 plates in the travel block, and just put them in the grand block for 45 minutes. And then what you will have is you'll have a grand block strength travel block. Okay, so yeah, you can definitely upgrade a travel block using a grand. Don't take a travel and put it in an infinity because the travel block is stronger than the infinity. Okay, you'll mess up your infinity block. And no, you can't upgrade a travel block with another travel block. It's not designed for that. Okay, so no 40, and only do it in a grand. Now, if you have an infinity block, okay, those were actually designed to upgrade each other. So if you got the infinity block package, and I do, then you can go back and forth. There's a video for that, and kind of just do this little step by step by step, and you're kind of just seesawing your way up this scale of having different generations of blocks, of infinity blocks, and that's 45 minutes. Take the rods off, put all 6 plates in the infinity block of the other one, and you can go ahead and upgrade your infinity block to infinity. All right, so that's that. Now, if you don't have a second infinity and you went and got a grand block, no problem. Take the rods off, put the plates in there, and you put it in your grand block. But you only can do that one time. So then you will now have a infinity block that's got the strength of a grand block if you do this, okay? One time. So it's only going to be a one-time upgrade. But if you have the second infinity, you can grow it to infinity if you want. But just one thing about the grand block you should be aware of, right? That An IB10, so even if you had an infinity block and you got it up to 10, it's still not as strong as a grand block, according to Philip. Okay, so you could definitely, jump the gun and just go straight to something over 10, and then, but it'd only be that one time. And then once you have it, people ask me, well, what if I got another infinity block? Could I take that grand block infinity block and stick it in a regular infinity block? No, because now it's so much stronger than the infinity block, you're going to mess up the other infinity blocks. So just, it's funny, but this comes up, right? It's complicated, but that's why Philip and I talked about it, and I said, hey, I need some guidance so I can share it with everybody. So bottom line is, if you grand block your infinity block, it's a one-time thing. And then at that point now, you've basically got an infinity block that's as strong as a grand. You're done. Don't mess with it anymore. Now, if I take a grand block, can I upgrade it with any of the other blocks? No. You just can't. It is the strongest block, and it's you just can't upgrade it. You can't. They're not designed to upgrade each other, and you've got the strongest block, and that's where you're at. There's no upgrading in grand with anything else. Okay, there's nothing that can upgrade it. Even itself cannot upgrade it. Okay. With that said, so that's really kind of important to know about upgrading your blocks. Okay, that's it. So hopefully this was helpful. I'm just trying to, these are all the questions I answer all the time. So that's why I made this video. I'm hoping that it'll be helpful for you guys, and then I will be able to have a reference whenever I get these questions again. And if you guys have other kinds of questions like this, just let me know. And I'll just do another one of these. But bottom line, though, hey, thanks a lot for watching. Appreciate your time. You can always reach out to me on the Tinkers Academy blog or Leela Quantum Tech in the Telegram chat group. Links below in the video description. Hope this was helpful, and have a great day, guys. Talk to you later.